In this video, I'm going to describe how to accept a native drag and drop operation, where the drag and drop operation is initiated by some other non-Air application hosted by the operating system. I'll be working in the application nativedragdrop.mxml that's a part of the Chapter 03 Begin project. If you're following along in the exercises, open that application now. This is a simple application with two labels, one that will be a static label with the text of Drop Text Anywhere, and the other that's a target label. They both have a font size of 12. The second label doesn't have an initial text value. We'll be filling in that value upon text being dragged and dropped into the application from an external application. To get started, go to the application's root element, Windowed Application, and add an event listener for an event called Native Drag Enter. When the mouse cursor enters the application during a drag and drop operation initiated by any other application, this event will tell you that a drag and drop operation is pending. You'll react to that by passing the generated event object to an event handler function. We'll call it drag enter handler, and we'll pass the event object. Then go down to your script section and create that function. The function receives an event object typed as a class named nativeDragEvent, and as with all good event handler functions, returns void. Within the dragEnterHandler function, I'm first going to add a trace command to tell me that the dragEnter event happened. Within the trace function, I'll put in a simple literal string of dragEnterEvent. And then I'll test this by saving and running the application in debug mode. And then I'll open up another application that's capable of dragging and dropping text values. On Windows, you can use WordPad. On Mac, you can use TextEdit or any other text editor that's capable of initiating a drag and drop operation. Now I'll select some text and drag it into the application, and in the console in the background you'll see that every time the cursor moves over the Air application, the trace command is executed. And this tells me that in fact I'm successfully detecting when the dragEnter event occurs. So now I'll close the application and return to the code. In order to accept the event, you'll use a class named nativeDragManager. The nativeDragManager class has a method named acceptDragDrop. You pass into it what we call the target object. In a Flex application, you can usually refer to this, meaning the application itself. And that tells the Flex application that if the user releases the mouse button while the cursor's over the application, then we'll accept the drag and drop event. Now we need to handle that event. When the user releases the mouse cursor, we'll get an event named nativeDragDrop. And once again, we'll listen for the event and handle it with an event handler function, which I'll call dragDropHandler. I'll once again go down to the script section and create that function. And I'll receive once again an event object typed as nativeDragEvent. Within the drag-drop-handler, I'll retrieve the data from the clipboard object that's a part of the drag and drop architecture. I'll assign the return value to the label control that I already declared, target label. So I'll start off with targetLabel.text equals event.clipboard.getData. This is exactly the same getData function that I showed how to use in the previous chapter about using the clipboard. I have to pass in a format name to designate what kind of data I want to retrieve. And once again, as with standard clipboard operations, I'll use the clipboard formats class and its text format constant. I also need to explicitly typecast the value that's returned from the getData method using asString. As I described in the previous chapter about the clipboard, the getData method expects to return an object. If you know you're receiving the data in the form of some other class, you need to say so. I'll save my changes and run the application. Then once again I'll go over to my initiator application, I'm using WordPad, and I'll drag and drop the text into the application. Notice the cursor shape changes as soon as I accept the operation. And when I drop the data, It's placed into the application, and my code retrieves the data from the clipboard and displays it in the target label. I can do this as many times as I like. I'll type in another phrase in the text editor, select it, and drag and drop it into the application. So you'll see that each time the initiator places data into the clipboard, and then I accept the drag and drop operation and react to the drop event, I'm able to get the data out. In the next video, I'll show you how to do something very similar using a special kind of clipboard format called a file list.